So I saw a tweet from indie hackers. Share your elevator pitch in a tweet and give feedback on other people's pitches. So I'm going to do the latter. I'm going to give feedback on other people's pitches. I'm going to just go down. There's about 20 or 30. I'm going to do as many of these as I can. Sam Casey, I'm building a platform that gives consumers a monopoly over their online data and an avenue to monetize it. So this one is I'm a little foggy in what that means, a monopoly over their online data and monetize it. The idea of monetizing your data sounds interesting. I think the pitch needs to be a little clearer as to what exactly that means. Next up, Kamban, ad hoc to-do sharing without login, donetogether.io. So that sounds, it's clear what that is. I don't understand what the value is of doing to-do sharing without a login. I mean, if I'm sharing to-dos with somebody, I'm generally totally comfortable with that being connected to a login. I'd prefer it to be connected to a login. Okay, next up, Nick Swan, sanitycheck.io, do more with Google Search Console data. That sounds immediately interesting because, for example, I use Google Search Console. I know that I'm not doing enough with it. I know there's probably stuff in there. Like if Google doesn't send me an email notification about something being broken, I'm not looking at it, I'm not touching it. I think Google Search Console or Google Analytics, if you can help me do more with those, that's immediately interesting. So I think that's a great pitch. Caleb O, Stoic meditation and journaling app. I think that's good. And I have some interest in those things because I've read a book on like Stoicism and meditation. So I think that's interesting. I think it depends how much you're into those topics, right? If you are interested in them, they're going to be interesting. You could probably go a little bit more detail, right? Like that's a very short and sweet one because I have seen there's a few different types of journaling apps and stuff like that. So maybe a little more about what makes it unique. Seth Fannin, e-learning and podcast training / learning platform, self-paced training library that pairs you with podcast based on desired skills or curriculum you would like to learn, use case. So I think actually so it's a bit long, but I think there's something I saw called, I think it's called Knowable. They got an investment from A16Z, which I can't even remember what's A16Z stand for. It's one of the Silicon Valley investment companies, but they're basically, it's like a mix of e-learning and podcast type content. Kirill Zubovsky, Smash Notes. Create beautiful shareable notes for podcasts, yours or the ones you follow. Embed them on Twitter, on your website. Listen to the ones you like right from your browser. I love that because notes for podcasts can tend to be a little hard to discover. I love the idea of being able to create notes for other podcasts. That creates a lot of value for them. And that's something I would probably do for podcast episodes that I like. So I think that's great. Netflix, but for independent video makers. It's sort of clear. The problem is what makes Netflix is the high quality content. If these are independent video makers, it's unclear how that content would be really high quality. I guess the question is, how is this not YouTube, right? YouTube is sort of already that. Okay, next up, Dave Jeffrey, web app to desktop app. So I think the idea is you take a web app, convert it to a desktop app. So that makes sense. I've seen a few different products like that. I've used one before. I can't remember what it's called. So I'm curious sort of how it's different from some of the other options out there. Outseta, get your SaaS product to market 50% faster with Outseta and Stripe. So this is clear, and I remember taking a quick peek at this last night. The value prop is clear, but the how is sort of not clear. And I remember looking at the website, grow your SaaS startup, not your overhead, one platform, all the tools. So I'm thinking like what tools exactly? And it says subscription billing, CRM, email marketing, help desk, live chat. So I kind of get that. It's sort of bundling some things, right? So it's bundling the types of common things you need in a SaaS. You need to have that email marketing, the CRM, subscription billing. But then I feel like all of these tools can be good separate tools, right? Like for live chat, you could use Drift or Intercom. And, so I feel like, wouldn't it be better to just use those other tools? What makes it better to have them bundled? Next on Naveen Mishra, get paid to support open source. So that's sort of clear. What does it mean to get paid to support? So I guess it means as a developer, if you're supporting an open source project, if you're working on it, you can get paid, which is cool. So it's almost like get paid to do open source development work. But then I'm wondering, how does that work? Which I guess makes it a good pitch because then if the immediate thing is like, oh, tell me more about how that works, then it's a good pitch. Mail list app, weekly newsletter with your saved bookmarks. Start actually reading what you save for later. That's a great idea. I find myself saving things in Twitter bookmarks and then I never go back and look at them. I don't really use bookmarks unless there's something I know I want to have on my main screen and refer back to often. But the idea of being able to help you read the things you bookmarked, I think is great. Okay, Jonathan Samucha, Fit Hacks extracts the stuff that matters from your running data so you can focus on your running instead of gazing at charts. Kind of makes sense, and I don't use running data charts at all really, so I might not get it because I'm not in the market, but I feel like the charts that you get from your Apple Watch and other things like that, I feel like the Apple Watch charts and the Garmin and those other things do a good job, so I don't know how this would be different from that. Sahil Dawa, version controlled live notes, Google Keep times GitHub. I feel like that's a little bit unclear. Again, there's so many notes functionalities. Ben Keeney, a nonfiction book club accelerating members' reading habits and friendships. Boom, love that one. Again, talking about friendships, I think that's a great tie-in to friendships. I think that can remove some of the friction because it's like a book club. So there's something that you're focused on. Anytime you're talking about friendship, it's like you can't talk about the friendship directly. It's got to be something else. You know, like I went to this cigars and startups meetup, so it's about the cigars, but really it's about connecting with people. It's about the books, but it's about connecting with people. I've thought to myself, like, I should join a book club. Like, that'd be awesome, even though it feels a little cheesy. But that's just because I'm being weird about it. Chris Rickard, crowdsourced software estimation. That's genius. That is genius because software estimation is super hard. Crowdsourcing is exactly the kind of thing I think that could help with that. And I think that's brilliant. João Gonzalez, a collaborative curated list of courses, books, podcasts, and experts for indie hackers. I feel like there's already stuff out there for that. I mean, Indie Hackers itself has different types of content that gets upvoted, but maybe there's a way to do a better job of that for specific things. You know, I mean, Pod Hunt does podcasts, so I don't know. Okay, that's all I got.